Welcome everybody. We are here in the St. Louis Chess Club, the Central West End, heart of St. Louis, capital of chess in America, as we bring you another edition of Today in Chess. My name is Alejandro Ramirez. I'm here with Grandmaster Yasser Seirawan.
Pleasure, Alejandro, as always.
It's a big show today. We are covering the final round of the Candidates Tournament in Moscow, and it is all over, Yasser.
Yeah, it was an incredibly eventful tournament. It had everything we could hope for in a tournament. It came down to the very last game between pardon me, the two co-leaders, and it was a great game.
It was a great game. Let's see the results of the final round in Moscow. Petersviller drew against Vachier-Lagrave. That already didn't help Fabiano Caruana. Anish Giri drew wrestling Topalov. Hikaru Nakamura drew Levon Aronian. But it was Sergei Karyakin in the key game of the tournament.
Absolutely.
He took it against Fabiano Caruana, needing only to draw, actually, in the final round to challenge Magnus Carlsen for the World Championship. He pulled through and actually won the game.
Absolutely. And again, it's all about the tie breaks in the sense that going into the game, he was in a must-win situation. That is to say, Fabiano was. The tie breaks dictated that he take a great deal of risk in today's game.
He did, and it backfired, as sometimes it does. And it was Sergei Karyakin, the youngest grandmaster in the history of chess. He obtained the title when he was only 12 years old, and it was back then, we were talking about 10, 12 years ago, that people were saying Magnus Carlsen, Sergei Karyakin will be a world championship match. And it seems like it's going to happen.
They were right.
They were right. Sergei Karyakin first place in Moscow. Huge result. Maurice, tell us more about it.
Well, absolutely, Sergei Karyakin has fulfilled his promise as one of the young phenoms, the youngest phenom to get the Grandmaster title. So it is absolutely no surprise to those looking years ahead to say, look, now he has shown it. He can play off against Magnus Carlsen, both 26 years old. Was he 26? Magnus will be 26 later in the year. And you see the game of the day, the game of the tournament, the last round, round 14, and Karyakin absolutely smashing Fabiano Caruana, who had great chances in the tournament that he missed, but it was this critical last round that he lost in just horrible fashion. We will go over all those details, but Karyakin, give him credit for playing like a boss, especially on home soil. To win in Moscow, in Russia, where he represents the country, is absolutely amazing. All Russia jubilant right now over his victory. For more points on this, here is Grandmaster Hansen.
Thank you, Maurice. I have to admit, going into the tournament, I did not have Sergei Karyakin in my top three. The only keys to success for me for Karyakin were to have excellent preparation and to have a little bit of luck, honestly. I did not see a way for him to win this event, but not only did he not have such an easy event, I mean, his games were not perfect. It was a workmanlike effort. Really impressed by Karyakin. So we'll talk more about that. Back to you, Alejandro.
Absolutely. He is the man of the hour. But let's take a look at what the final standings were, person by person. At the very bottom is poor wrestling Topalov. He mentioned himself, and it's not going well. He lost 26 rating points in this tournament.
Wow. Tumbling out of the world's top 5, now out of the world's top 10, now out of, maybe in the top 15.
He's out of the top 15, actually.
Amazing to think about, but exactly 10 years ago, this man won not only this type of an event, but it was for the World Championship with a massive plus score.
Absolutely.
Here, he was the only player below
50%.
Amazing.
As we move on to the other players, there was a big tie for 4th through 7th. They all scored 50% in this tournament. Hikaru Nakamura from America, he made a nice comeback at the end.
He did.
He did. A little too late. He was having a horrible event. He managed to make it okay at the end.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely slapped a little lipstick on a otherwise very poor performance.
Absolutely.
But Hikaru will gain from this experience. I hope that he'll be in the next candidates because he.
Oh, absolutely! He's a strong player. He'll be coming back.
He was one of my favorites.
Yeah, I think he was a favorite for everybody.
Yeah.
Showing very strong chess. They thought this was the time for Hikaru. Didn't quite happen. He stumbled in the first half of the tournament. It wasn't to be. Next up, we have Anish Giri in this list.
Wow! I mean, what can you say about this young man? He drew every single game, got a lot of criticism for it, but I tell you what, This guy was unbelievably consistent. He wasn't in trouble, as far as I can tell, in nearly any game. And he had 3 chances that he should have scored, and we could have been talking about Anish Giri if he had won those winning positions.
He just failed to convert when it was necessary. I think especially that game against Fabiano Caruana was a big one. I mean, he had like 4 extra bonds, man.
Yeah, and against Nakamura as well.
Against Nakamura, he had an excellent position, just blundered the game away in one move. What a tournament for Anish Giri. He's definitely disappointed at himself. You could see it in the press conferences when he missed his chances. He ended up scoring 14 draws, but...
A new record. I don't think anybody has ever drawn that many games in a row.
Yeah, absolutely surpassing Peter Leko. Let's go to the next player, Levon Aronian. Man, he was upset.
Yes, he called it a personal tragedy and a personal failure. This man, he certainly had opportunities. First half, he was looking good.
He was looking
it's
good.
A serious
we were
threat.
talking about 4 players in the first half. It was Vachier-Lagrave, it was Levon Aronian, it was Sergei Karyakin, it was Fabiano Caruana. And at some point, Aronian just disappeared from that list.
He faded.
He faded. He just lost a couple of games he shouldn't have very easily, and he just eliminated himself, basically. Peter Sviller, a very solid player. He had his chances as well, but he just let them go.
Yeah. I mean, this is another player who will look back on this tournament, shake his head, not in complete disgust. I mean, he played some really, really good chess at certain moments. Again, like Anish, he had opportunities, he just didn't convert them.
Yeah, it was just not to be for Peter Sviller. Next up, it was Vichy Anand. He finished in a tie for second, as with that draw in the final game, he was able to catch points-wise Fabiano Caruana. He finished on +1. What a roller coaster for the Indian.
Absolutely. I mean, Vichy, he brought it. I mean, he made this tournament exciting. He was involved in so many decisive games, and always with a chance in this event. Again, he plays great chess. Disappointing for him, but what a tournament.
Absolutely.
Wow.
What a tournament.
Just fantastic to watch him
Fantastic
play.
event. I mean, every game that he played was exciting.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
And, well, we have the American Fabiano Caruana finishing also second to third with that loss in the final round against Sergei Karyakin. Heartbroken, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But good performance by Fabiano. He had a lot of bad positions. He had a lot of good positions. This tournament could have gone either way, really, for him. He had 2 games against Topalov. He needed to convert. He didn't do that. He actually managed to save a couple of positions where he was in serious trouble. Against Anish, I mean, specifically, I'm thinking about.
Well, it felt like when we came into the studio on set, it was almost a funeral feeling that we had. We really had high hopes for this young man,
Yes.
especially with 2-3 rounds to go. It felt like he had an inside track. The disappointment of losing in the final, it's really, really hard.
But he took the risk. He played a Sicilian opening today. He was ready to go for Sergei Karyakin. It backfired in the critical moment, but you can't blame him. He actually went in for the kill today. Didn't happen this time. And of course, the man of the hour, the Russian hero, Sergei Karyakin, winning in home soil. He has earned his ticket to New York. He will be challenging Magnus Carlsen later in the year, and he will have the full support of Russia for this event.
A career-defining moment for this young man today.
Yeah.
He really put together a great tournament, nothing but kudos. Really, he just had a great performance. He's a very, very deserving challenger.
Absolutely. A fantastic event for Sergei Karyakin. Solid player, won the games he needed to win, defended the bad positions that he had, and at the end, he came through, won a full point ahead of the field.
Yep.
Nothing but props to a fantastic tournament.
Agreed.
Let's remind the viewers that we do have an interactive program, so if you want to call us, feel free to call the number that we will have soon on the screen, 1314-361-5465. We will have Garry Kasparov later on in the show joining us as well with his final thoughts on this tournament.
And what the championship match were, the matchups of the players, and how he feels who has the advantage in that match.
Absolutely, and for more information and thoughts about this tournament, and of course, what everybody's talking about, the tournament now, the event in New York later this year. We have Maurice Ashley and Eric Hansen.
Well, this tournament was absolutely a fantastic one. The thrills and spills, up and down, all the way through the tournament. Leaders leapfrogging each other, players coming to the top and then fading. But Eric, it really came down to the very last game and the tension in that last game. Now, let's first talk about Fabiano Caruana. He had a crazy tournament, a wild ride to get to +2. He had his chances to potentially be just a clear winner. But in this last game, he just got mauled. What is going to be his mindset at this moment? It's got to be complete dejection. And what do you think about his thoughts for this tournament?
Well, I think Fabiano can take away a lot of good things. He will be dejected for a while. He had chances today. It was, right there. But I mean, despite having a rocky event, he showed some very promising things as well. And to be in contention, to be the only one in contention besides Karyakin heading the final round. I mean, this is his first candidates. He is just improving year
23 years old.
23 years old. So, I mean, if I'm Fabiano Caruana or I'm his camp, I have a lot to be happy about still going forward.
He has 2 years to go at the top of chess. The next world cycle will be coming up soon. He's clearly one of the best players. He's top 5 in the world. Learning experience. Even Karyakin, who's a challenger now, he came in second place in the candidates. Was it 4 years ago, 3 years ago? And so now he's shown that he can rise to the top after all that experience. Fabi's going to have to show the same thing.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a great example of a player to follow. I mean, first candidates is not easy. We rarely see, unless you're Magnus Carlsen, somebody winning their first candidate. So that's nothing wrong with that.
Huge challenge for him, a big learning experience. But Karyakin, we can't really extol his virtues too much. The way he played to qualify for the candidates, to win the World Cup, that already was a sign that this guy is tough. He's got nerves of steel. You can't go through a knockout tournament on that kind of caliber and then come back in the end defeating Peter Svidler without really being just like ice cold, just ice in his veins. And he really showed it today. I think that he had a big chance. We'll go over the game later in the beginning of the game, but when it really counted, he just blasted through sacrifice and won really a model game, one that will be in Endgame books forever, in combination books forever. In addition, I believe also the moment to play a game like that, a sacrifice like that, in a moment like this one, this has got to be something he puts on his bedroom wall as just lean back and you're like, look what I did, honey. Look at that. Look at that. That's me.
No, I mean, to me, he showed the best nerves throughout the tournament. And when I look back, I'm trying to figure out why I did not consider Karyakin one of the main contenders. I mean, he had a period of inactivity for a while. He had a kid, and he had fallen out of the top 10. A lot of people wrote him off, and this is maybe a year and a half ago. But then, I mean, people kind of forgot for a bit. But this is a guy who's won Norway chess twice. He won the World Cup in amazing fashion, and he also defeated the entire Chinese team in a match single-handedly. They had a training match, and he did something, quite remarkable. It wasn't in a lot of news, but it was really impressive. So he's shown this winner's mentality before and being able to come back and do all these things. But I still didn't think he had maybe that class to win this event. I thought he had to. I was really thinking he had to rely on his team, excellent preparation, and converting everything. But I mean, his mental fortitude here was something I just totally, still underestimated.
Tremendous toughness, tremendous fortitude. Let's take a look at his path to victory. As you see here, in the very first round he drew, then he defeated Nakamura in game 2, drew Giri, and then a win against Anand. That was really a tight squeeze, very close game, and at the end showing great technique to get the Indian Grandmaster back on the bad foot. Then a series of draws. This was the middle part of the tournament. I think that he had some opportunity to fall back, but he just kept holding and holding. There were some tricky games for him, mildly, particularly the brilliant defense against Caruana. That's one of the games really for the ages.
Yeah, when you look back at the tournament, that's a key matchup.
A brilliant game.
Yes.
He played 2 brilliant games against Caruana. In fact, when you look at it, that was what decided the whole tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I would not have been able to come. That was beyond me. That was. I just had to sit back and watch that and take it in.
It was an epic game. If we can bring the graphic back up, I think that after those draws, this was the critical point in the competition when he lost to Anand. I mean, Anand showed beautiful technique to defeat him in that matchup to get revenge. For him to bounce back and defeat Topalov in round 12 that very next day, that's what showed that he had the championship medal to win this tournament. And of course, he had to defend like a beast again against Aronian. So just every single game when it counted, getting back up and saying, you're not taking me down, guys. I started leading this tournament early, and I deserve to win this one. And then, of course, the last round game against Caruana, which is one for the ages.
Yeah, it did not end up being a tournament about technique. Nobody was consistent in that regard, but Karyakin was, in my opinion, the most resourceful.
And tenacious.
Yeah.
He desired it. He wanted it more than everybody else. Guys, back to you.
Thank you very much.
You. We have a phone call with us as well. Viewers joining our conversation. See if we can get that online. Hello?
Hi.
Hi. Who is this?
My name's Kate.
Well, hi,
I'm from
Kate.
Missouri, so really appreciate what you guys do here.
Well, thank you very much.
My question is, had the tiebreak conditions been different, would that have influenced Fabiano's style of play in this last game and perhaps the outcome of the entire match?
Thank you, Kate, for your on-the-button question. Boy,
Yeah.
I couldn't even ask for a better, because that's what I was about to get into. That, in my opinion, because of the rules, and the tie-breaking rules, and because Sergei entered this game with the better tie-break, it really meant that Fabiano had to go out and basically take a great deal of risk with the black pieces.
Yes.
If it would have been simply a playoff, I think you would have seen a totally different Fabiano today.
Oh, completely different. I mean, I think it just changed the tournament. It completely changed the tournament. If Fabiano Caruana had to draw with black to force a playoff, we obviously would have seen him just build a fortress and not let anything happen.
Rock solid.
And Fabiano's the type of person that is, I think, more natural on that kind of state. He is not really known for must-win situations, especially with black. With black, he's known as an extremely solid player, proficient Berlin player. I mean, you can be guaranteed that had Sergei Karyakin not had basically draw odds on the final game, after the move e4, there is no way Caruana even thinks about touching that c-pawn.
Right.
He would have played e5, gone for a Spanish, taking his chances on some kind of playoff.
Exactly.
And I think that's a very big point. And I wonder that now that there has been a decisive result in this game, you had a winner, so you don't have to talk about the tie breaks as much. They don't matter as it would have been if there was a tie. If there had been a tie and Karyakin had gone through on a draw, that is, I mean, a draw and then it was a tie in the standings, Karyakin would have gone through, and a lot of people would have been howling bloody murder. Like, seriously, how could you have this format? Twitter would have been a buzz with vitriol for this particular way of deciding a champion, and then there might have been change. But the question now becomes, now that it's no big deal, we have a winner, will the officials change this format and say, you know what, next time, let's not do it this way. It doesn't make any sense to force players to have to go all out in a situation when they're tied, and we should just play off and have a deserving winner.
I really think they have to do that. I mean, I think everybody watching, for the most part, you know, they had the same result against the same field. I think first time this happened, no rules were changed. This is the second time. We can't have this again.
The first time it happened got Magnus in as well, and,
yes.
and everybody was expecting Magnus to make it to the title match. When he got in, it's kind of like, oh, see, the good results happen anyway. Right. And now they might shrug their shoulders again. But I think that serious fans need to take a look at this. The players need to take a look and insist this should not be the case. Caruana should not have had to play a risky chess to try to win in the last round when they were just tied going into it. It should have been a playoff beforehand. Of course, he went for it, and a disaster occurred. He lost. All credit to Karyakin, mind you. Karyakin played wonderful chess to win the game, but just got to get rid of these tie breaks.
No, absolutely. Nothing to take away from Karyakin. The game would have been different. Let's not kid ourselves. The game would have been different.
100%.
But we don't know. We don't have the if, and we can't guarantee Caruana would have drawn. I mean, Karyakin played a great game today. He might have played also a great game against the Spanish.
Exactly.
Anything could have happened. He just played better chess today.
Agreed.
At the end of the day. We have another phone call with us, as they seem to be coming in today. Hello?
Hello, is that me?
Yes, that's you.
I'm sorry. This is Bob Murray in Palinville, New York.
Hey, Bob.
And I want to congratulate you all on Today in Chess. I think it's great, and I'm looking forward to it down the road. Secondly, I want to, it's just the best team in broadcast chess.
Well, thank you very
From
much.
Yasser to Mo to Al, and now we got Chess Bra. It's out the world.
Yes.
But I want to ask you this: now that hometown boy Fabi is not coming to New York, I think they could have put it in a bigger venue if it was him. He's going to have such a local following. Sergei is not going to drum up the kind of local following. Do you think this is going to affect the size and magnitude of the production of the World Championship? And is Aegon going to mess that up too? Go ahead.
Thank you for your question. And compliments there, Bob. I'll take it from the top.
All right.
I was always a little bit skeptical about New York City because we hadn't heard any of the crucial details. Who were the sponsors? Where was the venue? And so forth and so on. I do see a high potential that the venue is changed to Moscow now that we have the Challenger.
Yeah, it might be. I mean, at the end of the day, things are still up in the air.
Everything's up in the air.
FIDE has announced it was in New York, but it wouldn't be the first time that FIDE announces something and changes its mind. And actually, FIDE does that a little too often to be a,
right.
a World Chess Federation. They've done it with the Grand Prix. They've done it with the previous World Championship. They actually announced.
I remember all the Kasparov matches that had been announced and came and went from Kazimzhanov and others.
So, I mean, it wouldn't be so surprising. Now, if the match actually does happen in New York, I still think it's great for chess to have the match here. It would be great for American chess to have that following. Of course, it's not going to have the size or impact that it would have had if homeboy Fabiano had qualified. But let's not forget, I mean, Sergei Karyakin is a worthy challenger.
Without question.
He is going to be followed by the entirety of Russia. Russia has felt bad about its chess for years. I mean, its team hasn't been doing well. They haven't had a champion in forever. And this is their chance to bring the highest title of chess back to where they think it belongs.
Traditionally a great, great country.
Right.
Okay, Maurice, what did you guys think about Bob's comment?
I think the very critical point is so ironic. Russia, the hotbed of chess in the world for so many years, the Soviets dominating championship after championship, bringing all these world champions. Not only that, also the Olympians, they used to completely dominate. And now, and then we had Bobby Fischer, who snatched the championship away from them in Reykjavik. And now you have the chance for a Russian to come to New York, to come to the United States to try to take the chess, I mean, right a stone's throw away from Brooklyn, where Bobby grew up, where Bobby Fischer grew up, and he has this chance to go to New York and win this match with the great Magnus Carlsen and all the press attention that he brings. So no doubt this match, no matter where it's held, you could probably hold it in Guam, and everybody's going to be watching because we got online to go to. But I do believe that there's going to be some billionaires in Russia that think, let's hold it in Moscow. How much do we have to pay? Maybe 3 million, 4 million, 5 million? I think that for them, it's going to be tremendously exciting to hold it on home soil.
Well, an important factor in this discussion is Sergei Karyakin is born in Ukraine. Russia pretty much bought Sergei Karyakin. And they said at a press conference, they found him sponsors, gave him great living conditions in Moscow. They said, we're buying Sergei Karyakin. He's going to be a winner. We want the chess crown back in Russia. We think he can be a world championship contender. So this is an investment, a serious investment they made many years ago. And now it's clear it's paid off. But this was the goal all along for Russia. So to me, it really seems consistent that they will try to make a bid and have it on some home turf, because this has been a long time coming.
Can you imagine the crowds that are going to be at these matches? The buzz, even though the candidates was popular, the World Championship with Magnus Carlsen playing against Sergei Karyakin is going to be insane. I mean, if it were on Russian soil.
As soon as the game was done between Karyakin and Caruana today, there was cheer and applause and overall.
I picked up on that too.
I mean, the auditorium was full of people cheering for Sergei Karyakin. I think seeing that level of emotion by the crowd over in Moscow is going to be a huge influence for them to at least try to bring the match back to Russia.
Makes a lot of sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
We have another call?
We do. Hello?
Yes.
Who am I speaking to?
My name is Anthony Crawley.
Hello, Anthony. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. My question is, in the current World Championship match coming up in November between Magnus Carlsen and Sergei Karyakin, who do you predict will win that match? And secondly, should the unpredictable happen and Karyakin win the match, what kind of ambassador for chess will he be?
Thank you for your questions, Anthony. Give that one a shot, Alejandro.
Well, I have Magnus Carlsen as my clear favorite. I
Sure.
still think he has the experience now. I think his team will be working very, very hard. I think some of Sergei Karyakin's strengths don't match as well against Magnus Carlsen compared to some of the other players. Sergei Karyakin is a very good defender, that's true, but you can't be defending the entire match.
Exactly.
I mean, he needs to put pressure on Magnus, and I just don't know how he's going to do that.
It's going to be it would be tough for anybody
Right.
in a match with Magnus. Magnus was going to be a clear favorite, no matter who emerged, in my opinion, from Moscow. Having said that, I think that Sergei does have a game that can be challenging. I don't expect it to be a one-sided match. And should Sergei actually upset Magnus, I think he'd be an excellent ambassador for chess. I think that the Russians overall have been really great players, and the fact that he speaks English quite reasonably, I'm going to say, not as good as Magnus, of course, but yeah, I think he would be a good ambassador for chess.
I think it would be great for Russian chess. For overall world chess, I still think that Magnus is a much better ambassador. He has greater impact. He's more relatable, definitely more popular. I just don't think that Sergei Karyakin has that presence as a person, as being the better chess ambassador. I mean, of course, the winner is the winner. I mean, we're talking about chess specifically. But when it comes to personality, when it comes to advertisement potential, when it comes to popularizing chess, I think that Magnus Carlsen will do a better job with another 2 years as world champion than Sergei Karyakin would.
Okay.
I think that is true. I agree with you 100% in terms of crossover appeal. There's some champions who are just great at what they do. You see it in every single sport. Players who are just fantastic at what they do. They may be quiet. They may be a bit more reserved. They just don't necessarily capture the public's imagination as much as another champion might. And you have those champions who just have great personality. Everybody wants to sign their autograph, run after them. Now, of course, in Moscow, in Russia, Sergei is going to certainly get all the popularity. I think it's going to be a little bit harder for him to transcend his home soil. I mean, many of us, like we said, we didn't even count him in to this tournament, and we know he's a fantastic player. There's something that has to click. And Magnus has it. Garry Kasparov had it in spades. I mean, he was the kind of ambassador that everybody would follow behind and want to listen to every single word. He always had something interesting to say, even if it was contentious. He definitely had something to contribute at all times and was just a wonderful ambassador. But you can count a number of world champions who are not great ambassadors to the sport, meaning in terms of a different type of charisma that captured the public imagination, even though their play itself was fantastic.
Well, we can go back to what Judith Polgar said. I mean, she, in an interview, said Garry Kasparov was a great world champion, Anand wasn't. And the reason that she said that was because Anand was very popular in India, but he didn't really transcend India as a popular figure. And I think that Sergei Karyakin is going to be exactly on the same boat.
What you say, wonderful awareness raising for Russia.
For Russia.
Full stop.
Yes.
Right, and Anand, of course, I mean, Anand, we love Anand. There's nobody here I wouldn't say, Anand's the man. Are you crazy? That guy's a player. But in terms of then saying, you know what, I'm going to come to the West, or I'm going to go around the world and do some things and make an impact in other ways, a little bit different. To each his own, of course, but it's important for the growth of the sport whenever there's a new champion.
Yeah, I mean, when we use the word transcend, I think it's just all about making that effort to popularize chess. And Magnus has a team, they really, the goal is to not only market himself, but get chess worldwide. He does all these trips, and since I've been playing chess, Magnus to me is by far the most marketable, the best ambassador, but wasn't always that way. He had to work his way up. I mean, getting used to learning to do interviews, like doing a lot of things that a lot of chess players don't necessarily enjoy. The photo shoots, a lot of the champions. They just study at home. They play good
interviews
chess
as well. I mean, when you're doing photo shoots and GQ modeling and all that, that's going to wear on you, and you have to do it and still win. Yeah. A lot of players are like, no, I got to study chess, man. What are you doing? I can't be distracted by all this stuff. But you see, he's always wearing gear of his sponsors, and he's got to he does a lot of charity work here in the States. In New York City, he goes to a lot of events just to promote the game. He meets with Bill Gates and plays Bill Gates chess and goes to Silicon Valley. And that's just something that comes to the shoulders. You have the burden of being champion in order to grow your sport. And Magnus definitely does it in spades.
Yeah, so I mean that pretty much is the answer. My answer to that question, Magnus, he's had to adapt his lifestyle and embrace the ambassador role, and he's done that. And I don't see a better person for that right now.
Wonderful. Should we see the game?
I think it's that time that we should analyze the key game of the tournament. It was a sharp Sicilian rouser. I'm going to say that did not expect that, but let's take a look at what happened.
I expected a Sicilian. I just had no clue
which one?
which Sicilian animal was going to emerge. It became a rouser, and you help me out here, Alejandro. Fabi was playing a lot of different openings of Benoni.
Yeah.
But is a rouser, and I know he plays Sicilians, is a rouser really a big weapon in his repertoire or part of his repertoire?
No, not at all.
No,
Fabi doesn't play the rouser.
I had a feeling that Fabi, I'm not going to say didn't know what he was doing, but I think he made a very serious error in the opening, which could have led to a disaster.
It's really funny because it was a little overshadowed by the candidates, but the Women's World Championship just finished in Lviv in Ukraine, and in the round where Maria Muzichuk must win with black or the match is over, she chose the rouser also, and she also lost in that game.
She also lost.
So the Sicilian itself really took it on the chin this tournament, right?
Oh,
I mean,
my
people
God,
are asking,
scored 0%.
Why don't you play the Sicilian? And whoa. Maybe now we know why they don't play the Sicilian. Not that the Sicilian is a bad opening, but that's risk.
There is risk.
You want to use it just in case if you need a win, but it's definitely risky to play this opening. And let's just go back a bit here. I just want to bring it up on the big board. This position is very rich. I used to play this myself as black. Extremely rich position. And one of the reasons why you play this is because you look at all the pawns. Black has moved all these pawns. White has only 2 pawns up. His D pawn is gone. Black has moved all these pawns, created control over all these squares in the center. The 5th rank is completely controlled. And he's looking for imbalanced play particularly on this side of the board. Black is going to want to get some counterplay. White has a number of ways to steer the game into different channels. But here, black is cagey with the bishop's back. White has much more space and is able to work his way, trying to get something in the position. And this critical trade, bishop takes on f6. We shouldn't bypass this trade too quickly because this move really signals a change in the structure completely. G takes f6 is the key move here. And by doing that, now black's pawn structure is even more crazy as you look at it as uneven, the double pawns here. You might wonder why do this, but black gets these extra pawns in the middle of the board that he hopes will keep white out. But remember, he has to win this game. So is this the formation you want when you're trying to win the game when white has some pretty standard plans to keep the position under control?
Well, I think he picked it because Karyakin doesn't have that much experience against this opening. I'm fine with his choice. I used to play this myself as black. But really, they must have maybe had a fresh idea to go into this because it does not have the best reputation. I remember when I used to play this, I'd follow a Croatian grandmaster, Zdenko Kozul. He still plays this, and he might have spectacular wins, but also pretty dreadful losses. They're trying to predict what Karyakin might even prepare for Sicilian. And one thing I want to point out, even before this, an important point in the move order, is if we were to go back, actually just on move 2, you can enter this by playing d6 But Sergei Karyakin is a renowned expert in bishop b5 check anti-Sicilian, which is very drawish. So they also played knight c6, which gives a few more options of keeping the pieces on the board. And that was how they transposed into the rouser, because there are two move orders, and they did want to avoid bishop b5 check, I'm fairly certain.
All right, and after this castles, bishop d7, f4, h6, we get to that position with bishop takes, that's a g takes, and now this thematic idea of f5, which white attempts to open up this line. This diagonal becomes important, a bishop to e2 and h5. Sometimes the queen's able to sneak there, but black will play against that. Even though white gives up this square, e5, the clamp on the e6 square is extremely important, and white's trying to get this pawn to move, and then white will get the d5 square for a knight, so black has to be very careful about that. And we got to this position after queen b6, fe6, fe6, and now more trades that got us to this position. And now you still see very imbalanced position. This white pawn on e4 looks weak, but it's very hard to take this pawn. And we'll see later in the game, this pawn becomes a monster, or at least had a big opportunity that he could have advanced. And it's a typical plan as well. After bishop d3, defending the pawn. Now h5, a thematic idea to get the bishop on this diagonal and also prevent the idea of any piece ending up on h5. King b1, and now b4, knight e2, and queen c5. And we got to this position. I think this is where you were jumping in, Yaz. Yeah. Now this position, very complex. The two bishops for black, but the king, where is it going to live? That's the big question. And it means that black has to play very delicately. 18 moves in, this king still hasn't castled, and you're not sure where it should castle, or should it stay in the middle behind these three pawns? Exactly.
I thought that this was a key moment, and it just felt to me that Thabby didn't quite have the feel of the position, and for that matter, neither did Sergei, because this was a moment where Sergei could have slammed down this move e5. Why do I, when I click? Okay. After e5, suddenly, boom.
Yeah,
the position explodes. You can't capture the pawn de, because, oops, that's a checkmate. So you have to, if you capture the other way, f takes e5, suddenly, ooh, I think it's actually queen g5. Queen g5 immediately. And suddenly, oopsie daisy, after bishop g7.
By the way, queen g5 was threatening, we should point out, the obvious bishop g6 mate.
Exactly. Just a second. Let me, with the threat of mate in one, bishop to g6, mate in one, bishop g7. And this is just a fantastic position. I think it's a winning position, in fact, for white.
Should he have thrown in check before playing? I think he has to play check first with the bishop and then play rook f1.
This also looks devastating.
But this looks pretty bad as well with the same check threat.
Now you take on f1 and you try to play king d8.
Yeah, but I have, well, I can at the very least go rook f7, right?
King d8.
Rook f7. D5 and queen e5 looks very good for.
Let's see that d5.
D5 protecting the bishop,
and now take on e5.
Among other things, I mean, I don't even think this is the only way, but queen e5. I
think it's a typical way though in this position.
It's really
now the knight comes in,
and now the knight's coming at d4, and
this looks
black
grim.
has no coordination. No, it's over. Yeah.
So there was this really big moment, and oh, pardon me. Finally, after e5, there was this. e5.
I think with the queen.
Queen takes e5. Now, whether or not you want to play bishop check immediately or simply rook e1 with the idea of knight f4, very powerful compensation, or if you don't want to go a pawn down, even queen takes b4. And I really like white's position because I think it's black's king who's going to feel very, very uncomfortable in the very near future.
It looks busted. I mean, really, after e5, I think white is close to winning. And this really exemplifies a couple of things that I want to say about this game. The first is that Fabiano did take risks. I just don't think it was, I don't think it was okay to use an opening that he knows so little about. And it's clear that Sergei Karyakin is also not terribly familiar with the white side of this, because e5, as Maurice was pointing out during our analysis, is a very thematic break. And kudos to Caruana for taking risks. I just don't think it was headed in the right direction, because even though you take risks, you want to do some do it in positions that you know.
Yeah.
It just didn't feel like he knew what he was doing.
Yeah, certain feelings were missing.
And you can definitely tell when players know their positions. It's just like they come naturally. I mean, Fabiano Caruana, when we say he's a good Berlin player, it's because he finds every move. He knows every idea. Whereas I think in this position, even though he eventually got a good position, at some point he had a great position, I think, approximate equality, and we'll take a look later. But allowing the E5 break, which could have happened, just for me indicates that the knowledge of the opening wasn't there.
Exactly.
It was, is that feeling?
And all top players in particular openings, when this is something that you do regularly, like for example, being on the black side of the rouser, look out for E5, right? That's a move that's always coming. You got to look out for that. Typical ideas in openings, because you've seen them so many times. And so it's automatic. Your spidey sense goes off and you say, oh, wait a minute, that's possible right now, right? And you don't let it happen at all. And there's so many of our lines that feature those kinds of ideas that you simply cannot let happen. Surprisingly, because Karyakin himself was not that familiar with the position, he didn't find the E5 break right now. And a lot of players in blitz, I mean, grandmasters would have played like, oh, wait a minute, E5 is here. And it would have just appeared to them, as opposed to them having to look for it. It would have just appeared on the board and say, wait, I can play E5 now. Boom, and you go. And he didn't see it even with the ability to analyze the position because he's not as comfortable, and he ended up playing a logical move, Rook HF1, which is a nice developing move, attacking a pawn. Seems like a reasonable one, but not that E5 move, which would have really percolated in this position. And I believe has actually been seen before in this exact position.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a bit inexcusable, but I kind of like his opening choice because I think when you're in a position to win as black like that, you kind of have to play against Karyakin. He's so booked up and so comfortable in the main lines that I did like the risk taking myself. I got to say, I mean, yes, it's specifically he messed up the move order, but they maybe even said, you know, Karyakin's not the most comfortable in these positions and whatnot. Like, you have to give up something. No matter, it's a very hard decision to pick the opening, and if it wasn't the right one, I'm not sure what would have been the right one in his repertoire. And
this is a big point. We're criticizing the moment more than criticizing the choice of the opening, I think.
Well,
because
Alejandro.
Yeah, well, I think that I would agree with you there. I think that his choice, the fact that he did get an equal position, kind of affirms that he made a good choice. Because, yes, I'm not going to find all the moves, but I don't think he is either, right? And that's sort of what happened. He did get an equal position. Now, whether or not that cost him some time on the clock because he's playing in unfamiliar territory, which does happen as well, whether or not in the long run he messed up as a result of being unfamiliar or more unfamiliar, because the trick is, when you're in unfamiliar territory, you both are, you really want to be the one with the initiative. You don't want to be the one defending, at least, because, like, this is worse for me, and I don't really know how I'm supposed to be defending properly. That is a very tall task when you are playing against a star player, because the tricks are going to be on his side that you got to keep on looking out for missiles coming at you.
Absolutely. And we'll continue looking at this game. This was a key moment, of course, when Karyakin missed E5. We do have a call with us, so perhaps we can get that online. Hello?
Hello. Hi, guys. This is Omar. I'm calling from Paris, from France.
Oh, well, hello.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Bonsoir. Yeah. So, guys, I'm calling really to tell you that I love your show. So I wanted also to tell you that you have fans all over the place. So not only in the US, but I think in lots of other continents.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. And I had a question, actually. It's really regarding, like, I have a kid who is 5 years old, and he loves chess. So he just started learning this year, and he's playing me, and he loves to play me, but I'm really, like, a very weak player. I'm like an amateur, but he really loves playing me. So I was just thinking, guys, what is the best way to teach, let's say, a 5 years old kid when you don't know much yourself? And is there really a risk if he starts playing me all the time and maybe he gets, like, all bad ideas, or is it okay that he plays until he gets to a school maybe next year, like a chess club or something like that? What do you think, guys?
Thank you, Omar. Thank you for your compliment, first of all, and also for the question, because I think it's very endearing.
Yes.
And I think a lot of parents, fathers especially, have such issues or problems. To what extent should they encourage the child? If the child really is passionate about it, how do they go about fanning the flames of the passion that the child has.
Absolutely. Well, I can tell you that when I was growing up, when I was 5 or 6 years old, I played my dad all the time.
Yes.
And well,
how sweet it is, right?
It was fun, and we didn't even have the en rule right.
Of course.
We didn't even know how that worked.
Right.
But I mean, I still think I turned out okay.
Right.
So no, playing against your dad, I mean, for a long time, it's great. It's just a practice, going back and forth. Now, resources for a young player, well, what do you think are some awesome resources out there?
Well, first of all, I'd like to start with the idea that I think 5 is a tremendously good age to introduce chess to kids. I started very late. I started at 12, and I regret that I didn't have that introduction to chess earlier. Then again, maybe I wouldn't have found it so attractive somehow. So when children are excited, never press chess onto the child. Rather, treat chess as a treat to be earned. Right. Okay, you want to play chess with me? First, do your homework, clean your room, do what you need to do, and I'll get you that chess book. I'll get you that chess clock that you want. So use it as a treat, right? But this is something really good. The child is going to have losses. Trust me on this one. And sometimes they're very emotional, right? The child loses the state championship in the last round. Fabiano losing today. Show the post-game interview of Fabi at the end. Very dignified, very correct. I know he just wants to go back and cry in his hotel room. But, you know, teach the child that losses are going to occur, but don't take them too seriously. Learn from your losses. Don't just get caught up. And I think, well, Omar, what to say? I wish you great luck. I think your child, you and your child are going to enjoy chess together very much.
Thank you very much, guys.
Well, thank you, Omar. Well, I've been teaching chess to children for a lot of years. Oh, more than you've been alive, sir. And I will tell you that, Omar, it's fantastic that he's beating you. It's wonderful. Enjoy this time period, because for him, that's going to be more and more motivation to play dad. He will not forget this time ever in his life, the time that he could actually beat his dad at something. He'll be beating you at other things later, but for now, this game that he's beating you at is wonderful. Whenever he wins, that is something to be embraced, because it's great motivation for him to continue. So keep on at it. In order to find more enriching environments for him to improve, the greatest time in the world is right now. Online, there's so many places to go for him to sit and play. ChessKid.com, they're friends of ours. There are other sites as well all around. You'll find kid-friendly sites for him to go online and play chess. And also, there are so many apps in the App Store. You can look up mine. That's just a plug. But there's so many apps that are great apps for kids to just have fun with. You can download a few, see which one he likes the most. Some of them have animal themes that might fit his age development. Whatever you find, definitely look for that, because he's going to have great fun playing with those until the time does come when he gets to school and starts playing other kids as well. And you might find that he's beating all those kids. So don't count on that as the way it's going to enrich him. But you're in Paris. There's chess clubs in Paris. There's going to be lots of places you can find where there's some really good players who he'll be able to go hang out with and watch and really develop his talent as a player. It sounds like he's on a great road. By the way, you should tweet us his name so that we know that Omar's kid is a superstar, he's a French star, and you found out how to get him great right here on this show. We want to know.
I'll do that. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. And don't forget videos. The St. Louis Chess Club.
On the YouTube channel.
We have on our YouTube channel many videos actually dealing specifically with classes for kids. We have a class here for kids every Sunday.
Correct.
We have Eric Hansen teach them. We have Varuja Nakovian teach them. I've taught a couple of one. Yasser has many. I mean, they're all online, and they're wonderful resources. I mean, these are the classes that the kids receive, and we've seen great improvement from many of them.
By the way, just because the caller was from Paris, I got to get this in too. The Grand Chess Tour will have event in Paris and in Brussels.
Yeah, if you want some inspiration, absolutely take him to that tournament in Paris. It's going to be amazing.
Okay. All right. Very good ideas indeed, guys. Very good luck to you.
Thank you. Shall we continue with our game?
I think we should continue with our game. I think it's a good time for that.
I just wanted to say, after that missed opportunity of the early e5, the players played what I would consider very standard, orthodox play. And I really liked what Fabiano had done up to this moment. I really thought that he had achieved what he wanted, which was an unbalanced, complicated position where Sergei can't sit back and just do nothing.
Right.
But that Fabiano, he's earned the 2 bishops, his king's a bit compromised, and so forth and so on. So we get to this position, and I was really surprised by this move, bishop takes f4. Again, recalling the situation of a must-win game for black. Okay, you're giving up one of your key trumps, and you really don't want to do that. Bishop takes f4. You know, I would have said, look, you know, for better or for worse, let me just say that I thought bishop d4 was the necessary move, okay? The variation I watched at the World Chess site, the players having a post-game interview. Both players had agreed, more or less, that h3 was the key move after bishop d4. And their analysis went, actually it was Fabiano's analysis, because he had considered this line up to this moment. And he said after h5 he felt, quote, a little bit uncomfortable. This wasn't an easy position for him to play.
Well, I can see why.
But again, think about, you know, like how complicated this situation is. There's a lot of things going on. After the move d4, there's a possibility you could lose the game on the spot if you played the natural bishop d3.
Well, I understand.
I mean, you got a 1-move win, and, you know, the strangest part about the whole game is there was never a moment that there was a 1-move win threat, if you, so to speak, for Fabi. I thought this was a very rich middle game position, and who knows?
It's tough playing this kind of games because having to play for a win is unnatural in chess. It's not what usually happens because most of the tournament you're not in a must-win position.
Of course.
You simply play chess, especially in round-robin tournaments. I mean, I think in open tournaments you have more must-win games. You're playing a lower-rated opponent.
Right.
But in round-robins, that's not usually what you're doing. And it unbalances the position in the sense that sometimes you have this difficult choice of playing an objectively good move against playing the complicated, probably bad move. And this is one of those cases. I mean, I think bishop takes f4 is just logically and objectively a better move. What you're saying is that even though it's a better move, maybe it wasn't the time to play it. Exactly. And it's weird saying that you should play a subpar move, but we've seen many cases in chess where a decisive result must happen for one of the players, that you have no choice but to go for it.
Right. And sometimes you got to take big risks.
And it's hard.
Yeah.
Making that judgment call of being, there is an accurate move on the board. This move, if I had nothing to play for, looks drawish. This looks even. This looks like, you know, the logical move. But I get nothing. And the competitive situation demanded that he take some kind of risk. But was it the time to take the risk? Was it the time to let this knight stay on the board and create all these chances for knight g6, which he was very worried about, and it just didn't feel right? Like, do I have to play that position? That is such a difficult call. It's much easier for us, of course, sitting on the side, looking at it going, hey, you know, come on, take a chance. You know, what you got to lose? And he's like, what I got to lose? You know, we're talking about potentially over $1 million in a match. By the way, we never noted that for the fans. Sergei Karyakin, by winning this game, these players were playing for a minimum, from the bids we've heard, a minimum, if they lose, 800 extra grand on top, or 8,000, I mean, 800,000, let me get that right, 800,000 extra grand, or euros even, I think, because we've heard 2 million euros as a bid for the match. This was virtually $1 million game being played in Moscow. That's... Have you ever played for $1 million? That's incredible tension. My Millionaire Chess Open gave away $1 million to the entire field. There was one player saying, I win this game, I got a minimum $1 million coming in my pocket, and probably much more if I win, and the future endorsements, future matches. This was incredible that one game came down to that.
Yeah, and that dilemma you were talking about is just a constant thing that players have to consider whenever we play low-rated players. Whenever a high-rated player plays a low-rated player, especially in open tournaments, just like the one you mentioned, you have to assess, make that judgment call. And you know, sometimes what happens sometimes with the top players is they're so used to playing in closed events and, you know, against people they know where a draw is a natural result. They're not pushed
especially
to win,
with black.
Especially with black, that a lot of them get rusty in the techniques they used to get there in the first place. So that is sometimes a factor. I mean, because everybody took some risks when, you know, we were growing up, beating our rival or, you know, lower rated guys. We did things that were dirty. We did whatever it took.
What'd you do that was so dirty? Innocent looking. Did you see the way he paused, guys?
I've accepted lost positions. I've allowed in one game the possibility to get mated in 6 moves. They did not find it, and I won it against an IM. So
you saw the mate in 6 on the board,
yes.
but you said, I don't think he's going to see it.
Right.
I've never done that.
He was down.
Never, ever done that.
Well, I was in a bad position, and it's either he's in time trouble. I either take a risk and I can try to win if he doesn't see this, or I just let him play a position that I think is very easy and much better for him. I took that risk.
Incredible.
So, but really that is a factor here, and I do agree with Yasser. I mean, a bishop f4, you can't. I'd play bishop d4 for sure.
Let's
Again,
remember,
considering the competitive situation.
Let's remember who Fabiano Caruana is, because you remember this Millionaire tournament? Everybody forgets, but he played.
Yeah.
He's just not known to win games, because what happened to him in Millionaire? He got drawn over and over and over again until he was out of the picture.
He drew
his way out of the tournament, and that's what happens for him in an open event. He's definitely a round-robin player. Well, that was an interesting discussion. We do have a phone call, and we're being told from India, so maybe we can jump into that. Hello?
Hi, this is Sashi from Chennai, India.
Hello.
First of all, you guys are doing a great job, by the way.
Well, thank you very much.
So my question is totally unrelated to the candidates that just finished. So this is basically about trying to understand why engines are fundamentally better than humans. So I have this thought. I just want you guys say on this. So basically, while playing a game, the players are not allowed to move the pieces around, right? So that's one of the restrictions that players are forced upon. But engines, on the other hand, I mean, they're basically designed to move the pieces around and place them in particular squares and just tell them what's the best squares to us. So I feel that if players are allowed to move the pieces around, maybe in a separate cubicle, just give them a separate board or something, will they, I mean, definitely their performance will be better, but will they be closer to engine? And will that be fun to be included even in tournaments? Say, give each player a board and just, you know, tell them that you can move around for 2 or 3 lines per position, and we can also learn from what the grandmasters move around separately. Just a thought.
All right. Well, thank you for your question. As I understand what the gentleman was asking is that obviously during play you can't analyze and move around the pieces on the board. But what about the idea that the grandmaster, when he's off stage, he can do that, and it's kind of like the confession booth. To show what the grandmaster was thinking to the audience.
Oh man, no. The problem with having a board, and people say, well, we're good at blindfold chess and all that, but having the possibility of visualizing it with a chessboard is such a huge advantage. Being able to move the pieces around, that'll be fantastic. I mean, think about it today, and we'll get to that point specifically, but if Caruana had been given a board and just given the winning combination and he puts it on the board, he finds why he's losing in like 2 seconds. But I think it's just too much of an advantage.
Well, but let's get to the caller's point. It's no advantage for either side. It makes your play better, was the caller's point. It makes the play better and potentially also allows the fans to see what he's thinking about, so that if a player can come off stage and start moving the pieces around, you put the camera on and you see these are the thoughts of the player. I think it's a great variant. I don't think it's the way competitive chess should take place, but I think it's something worth testing at least. You could see Carlsen moving away. You know, he's thinking about something. One of the problems with chess, with watching chess, is that the movement doesn't happen. You know, basketball you can watch with the sound off and have a lot of fun because movement is happening on the screen. With chess, the players are just sitting there thinking, and all those great thoughts they're having are happening in their head. Imagine if you could actually see them make a move and then rush off stage. Of course, the camera's going to be on them the whole time, seeing the moves they're trying to make. What if I try this? What if I try this? What if I try this? And then the commentators have to say, look what he's playing. I think that would be a fascinating variant, worth trying, not something that's going to happen in world-class play anytime soon, but just for the entertainment value, as opposed to, like, this being the stance. And then us guessing, not that we don't make great guesses, but us guessing at what they're thinking about. I think it'll be interesting to see at least once. Right. Got to try it out.
I'm open-minded, so you can see, I think it can be tried at least once, but, I mean, for the most part, I think one of the reasons why people appreciate watching top-level chess is the, calculating ability, the visualization skills. And now, with such good, shows like this show and commentary, people who see the board in motion like that, the commentators, give the audience a glimpse into possibly what the players are looking into, but I just think it would kind of kill that wow factor of being able to see variations from far out. But it's worth a try.
Thank you. I know we're going to get ready to do our halftime show, but this is something I want to share with our viewers. For the better part of 3 days here on set, Eric Hansen has challenged our own Maurice Ashley. You can't believe it. There's been all kinds of talk about push-ups and stuff, and we've got some serious bets going on. Maybe for the second half of the show, we may see the mighty Maurice Ashley trying to do 100 consecutive push-ups. Just saying.
This is so ridiculous.
Just saying. Just saying.
So ridiculous.
Does Maurice look like he can do even 50 push-ups? That's what I'm asking you. Yeah. Does he even look like he can do 50?
What do they feed you in Canada, dude? What the heck?
And we did have a Twitter poll on that.
You see how argumentative this has been going on for 3 days. What did the Twitter poll say?
Let's take a look at the graphic. I believe we have in just a second. I think the question was 50.
Well, no, Maurice is saying he's going to do 100.
No, he's
then
doing
people,
100.
People were saying that he
and he's laughing at
50.
I mean, this guy's out of his mind.
That
he can't even break 50, barely breaks 50. He's talking about he practices with his friends.
Look at that, Maurice. Look at the confidence.
This is ridiculous. Not 125. Okay, seriously, what is that? That's a lot of push-ups. although I've done more than 125, but who's the 54%? You guys want to put some money up? What the heck? What is this? This is ridiculous.
Maurice is here to prove all of you pastors wrong.
Are you questioning our educated viewers? They have the taste to watch the show. I think they also have the foresight to guess how few you can do.
Big blows being thrown around here in the studio. It is a good time to take our break. We are going to leave you with Beyond the Board as Maurice Ashley is going to warm up for his push-up challenge. We'll be right back.
Weekend vacation, a one-tank trip in a nearby city you won't want to skip. St. Louis is the stop for non-stop fun. So much fun for your family, infinity plus a ton. There's museums full of art and super fun slides. Upside-down concretes, twisty-turny rides. Houses full of magic, some with butterflies. Gardens growing flowers, parks with giant eyes. St. Louis is the stop for non-stop fun. So much fun for your family, infinity plus a ton.
So gentlemen, we have all been influenced by some great players. When you're growing up as a chess fan, you like to follow the great players. It's like, this guy is my favorite. Like, my personal favorite of all time, no surprise for a lot of people, is Mikhail Tal, right? He was such a swashbuckling, attacking player. I mean, he could have been in Brooklyn with the brothers, hanging out. Easy, because he just sacked the piece. He didn't want to play positional chess. That's baby stuff. He was just such a swashbuckling player. I remember being thrilled going over his games, the sacrifices one after the other, cascading down on the opponent. He may not have played precise chess. Yeah, the computers would have refuted some of the lies. But he was just such an inspiration as an attacker. Sure. And I loved studying his games.
No question about it. How about you, Alejandro? Who was your big influence?
Well, actually, I come from the Latin American school of chess. So,
Capablanca.
Yeah, that explains my boring positional and game-loving techniques. But yeah, I studied a lot of Capablanca when I was a kid. Actually, most of Latin America grows up on chess on 3 books called Los Tomos de Grau. It's this series of books by Grau,
nobody's heard of outside of Latin America.
No.
And he wrote.
Translated into English?
I've never seen it translated.
Okay.
This is kind of basic books that teaches you basic strategy, basic tactics. It's from like a million years ago, but it still holds up. And basically everybody reads those three books and becomes like a decent player.
Right.
They're actually pretty good books. They're outdated for sure, but the essence is still, I think, great. It explains pawn structures, how to create plans, king safety, everything that a person needs to know about basic chess strategy. They have it. Now, when I was older, I think I was more influenced by the works of Koto, the Think Like a Grandmaster, which may be a good thing, maybe a bad thing.
I know that Yasser doesn't appreciate that at all.
And I think a little later, when I was becoming a grandmaster, I think my biggest influence was Dvoretsky. Definitely the Dvoretsky books.
Yeah.
Let's keep it going around.
For me, when I started, clearly it was my local players, right? The people I was playing against, and all of them were much, much stronger. And the state champions of Washington State, Victor Spooples, James McCormick, Mike Purnett, Michael Spiegel, Leo Stefrak, all of my buddies.
I love the way you named those guys because we are mostly going, who the hell? Right? But for you, it's so fresh, it's so real. The influence there, they used to kick your butt, and you're like, oh man, I got to beat these guys.
Right, spank, spank, spank. And then from Vancouver, BC, we had Bruce Harper, Jonathan Berry, Duncan Settles, Peter Biasis.
I've heard a couple of those names, absolutely.
The latter two were grandmasters, and then of course Bob Zook, right? We had the winner of Zook in '72. He went like 132 games without a loss.
Wow.
Winning every tournament. So those were the local guys, and then Capablanca, I just kind of, and the Alekhine books as well.
Yes.
The 2-volume
My
set.
best games. Absolutely fantastic books.
Then I started studying those guys.
Those guys are great, absolutely.
But it was my friends. The local guys had the biggest influence.
If you asked me maybe when I was like 15 or 14, I'd have no answer. I didn't read a book. Didn't have.
Did you know how to read?
I knew how to read, but honestly, I didn't study chess until later. But when I got into it, it's really been shaped by modern players, and I've been catching up lately. So for myself, Michael Adams is like. I've studied like all his games and has a big influence. Sergei Rublevsky.
But why Michael? What do you like about Michael?
Well, I was always a sharp player, but I played E4, but in a very tactical, aggressive way, and I liked. He plays it in a bit more calm, but it's just his moves make sense to me. He came to my province to play a tournament, I think 1 year, so that was nice, and I saw some of his games, and I liked him. I just decided. When I bought chess, I just bought a database. I just looked up all his games. I just decided to try it like that, and I enjoyed them. And he's a positional E4 player, very precise. There's nothing irrational about his play.
It's kind of interesting because early imprints. You're making this point. Maybe it's just the fact that he visited your country or visited your town, right? And then you imprint on somebody,
right?
Even though you might have been imprinted on someone else if you had been influenced by them early. You mentioned your friends, my friends, the Black Bear School. They call themselves, they call themselves the Black Bear School because if you meet a black bear in the forest, you better kill it because otherwise it's going to keep on coming. Right? That attitude. And it was great names for me. Ronald Simpson, the late Ronald Simpson, who was a dear friend of mine, who had that same kind of tall, swashbuckling style, attacked like crazy. George Golden, who also was a big influence, passed away. Mark Mears also. It's the memories of great legends and the more recent guys who are still around. Willie Johnson, we call him Pop. He was the godfather of the school. I got some stories about him I can't even mention on the air. And William Morrison, Ernest Colding, Chris Welcome. These guys, they were just such great personal friends. And to have a group is always great, right?
Right.
I know a lot of people are lone wolves. You study like a Bobby Fischer learning by himself. But it's so great to have a group of players around you.
You know what's funny is that I thought we started this conversation saying, oh, the grades, who influenced us, the great works, the great books. But at the end of the day, well, of course that's important. But it's also so important to have that group of people that you consistently play against, that you train against. And for me, we had this chess club in Costa Rica. And this was where everybody went because it was the only chess club, like I think, in the Central America. And we would go 2 or 3 times a week, and I was just a kid. My dad had to drive me there, and I would get to play against 2000s, 2100s.
Yeah.
You know, they were the only players in Costa Rica, but it was good enough for me to practice, play blitz,
absolutely,
learn something, kind of some street chess. And they obviously shaped a lot of how I grew up. I mean, a lot of my repertoire is based because, you know, they said it was okay. I was like, all right.
They were doing something sharp, like the piano, and
yeah,
okay, I'll learn how to put the bishop over here. Right,
yeah.
right.
And you learn a lot just by practice. And for example, one of the great things about this club, the chess club in St. Louis, is that you can come here and play whenever you want. There's always good tournaments, somebody to play against. And
absolutely.
If you are serious about improving, you need to live next to a club, I think.
Yeah.
Or at least somewhere that people consistently get together.
I think that's changed. I mean, yes, the internet influence has certainly made it that there can be a lot of players who don't have clubs nearby and be able to play online all the time. But it is true. The influence of having people around you can talk to, argue with, trash talk.
Right.
I mean, the legendary trash talkers.
And analyze together.
And analyze the arguments,
Bobby
the
Fischer,
big arguments,
Horace,
move by move.
You know, like, why did he play? And you try to collectively
That's
figure
right.
it out.
I think I'm better. No, you're wrong. I think I'm better. Let's go at it. This is before the computers, of course, said you're both wrong.
Right.
But that influence is so rich. It's so important.
Those analysis sessions, I remember, they were very important in my development.
What about you? Did you have that kind of group around?
I was always the youngest in Calgary for the most part, but I had a lot of guys still supporting me, and every time I go back there, it's nice to see one. So I got, you know, I have a group of friends around my age, all around Canada. They're all masters now. Like, trained with them, Keith McKinnon, Kevin Me, Amon Hamilton. We have a bunch of guys that we did grow up at the national level playing against each other. I mean, everyone just lives so far apart in Canada, it's hard. But then we would play online and keep in touch. So it's really nice that I had that online. Like, we kept in touch. And then in Calgary, all the older guys did kind of like, you know, help me out and encourage me and got me to be more ambitious in chess. If it wasn't, I would have no idea, my family would have no idea for me to travel to tournaments or do anything, but like everyone, people like really helped me and gave a lot of advice growing up, so.
That support system, huh?
Yeah.
We all need that support system. And the funny part, I'm sure for all of us, is that those players who we call our great influences, the local ones, they feel like they helped us a little bit. Oh yeah. If it wasn't for me, he wouldn't be a grandmaster today.
Yeah. True.
Be surprised. Be intrigued. Be delighted. The World Chess Hall of Fame in St. Louis is nothing you'd expect and everything you love. 3 galleries highlight the history, culture, and creativity behind the game. Explore chess in ways you never imagined. It's a one-of-a-kind cultural institution where rare artifacts and world-class art play together. The World Chess Hall of Fame. Mind, art, experience.
You could fly to Venice or Paris or even Copenhagen. You could fly all over the world. But why? When you could just come to St. Louis. Your trip begins at ExploreStLouis.com.
Welcome back, everybody. We are here in another edition of Today in Chess, and it's the man of the hour, Sergei Karyakin, who surged at the end. He defeated Fabiano Caruana to earn his spot in the World Championship match against Magnus Carlsen. Let's finish up that game. It was an exciting game, one for the history books.
Absolutely.
And what a way to finish it off.
Yeah. When we left it, we had just left it at this very critical moment where the bishop traded itself for the knight. I thought that almost immediately right here, again, showing that he doesn't really have the feel for the position. I thought this move, a5, a4, was a poor move.
Really?
A really poor move.
Why is that?
Because, as we'll see in the game, the pawn on b4 actually become much more vulnerable, and white's king was never put under any pressure. After b takes a4, bishop takes a4, queen d3, Maurice and Eric will give us more insights, but I thought that in this position, without the move a4, bishop c6 was the obvious and better choice. Maurice, Eric, your views?
Well, absolutely. A4 was a compromising move. It looks as though it might be okay because you're trying to get counterplay on this side, but you never really get there. And in fact, again, in this position after A4, the move E5 is the move the engines give as potentially quite strong here, where you have to be very careful in this position. There's some crazy tactics. If you take, well, let's start first by taking with the pawn. You see the rook is hanging here, but after queen to D3, there's a mate threat on the D7 square. Also the possibility of the queen coming into the H7 square as well. The king starts to get triangulated, right? Being encircled by the white pieces. So E5, always a tricky move in the position to watch out for. Not winning for white by any means, but A4 certainly had its minuses in the long run, and we saw that B4 pawn being very vulnerable. It looks like it's a bit, what's the big deal? My B4 pawn is so well protected. It's not even attacked right now, but there are always eventualities as the position evolves, and we're going to see that this pawn became a real problem for black later.
Yeah, there are some openings where you shouldn't be forcing the issue, and we've seen players this event just, overplaying positions. But this is a position as white that Karyakin, I think, did the right approach. He directly met black's reply. So after A4, just took it right off the board. You can't really sit back here. It is an opening where you are looking to open up the position and counterattack, attack. That's how you play this opening. So Karyakin, played the structure very well, I thought. In this critical phase, he just took that right off the board, which is a very good practical decision.
I like the idea that this pawn is blocking the entry to the king. You have to push this pawn in order to get at the king, and if you do, of course, the pawn structure straightens itself out. So very smart play on his part. Now the game gets a lot wilder. After queen d3, he did play this move, bishop to c6, and now bishop to b3. And white is very solid. Both sides have the pawn islands. Black, of course, is solid as well. But this is where all heck broke loose. The move rook to g5, and finally Karyakin, knowing also that he had draw odds, as a matter of fact, played this burst, the move e5. And I'm going to tell you, when you're a Rouser player and your opponent plays e5 and you're protecting it not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times, and he's not protecting it at all, you know something's wrong. A move like this lands on the board, you're going, oh boy, I got to be super accurate from this moment, because what he's saying is, look at my king. My bishop is acting as an extra pawn shield in the position. Look at your king. As the game opens up, your king is in the middle of the board, and there are potential pieces that could hover around. No, I am not winning, but you will have to defend precisely from this moment on, and Caruana wasn't up to the task.
I think E5 is a big-time move because, otherwise it puts a lot of pressure on black, and you often just want to get rid of that pawn, to open up the E-file. But I think it was just a very, very timely decision to make things a lot more dangerous for black to defend and make things a little easier for white. Once you play E5, your plan is pretty simple. Go for
and it also cleared the 4th rank. Yeah. Look at it, clearing the 4th rank, clearing this diagonal for the queen to enter and potentially opening up files. This was absolutely the tricky moment, guys. When we all saw E5, it was like, oh, okay, slow down now. Is black dead? And also remember, white has the draw in his pocket. So if their line's in perpetual check, black not only has to defend to prove that he's okay, he also has to keep the win in his pocket. And that was just too difficult a thing to be thinking about. So many things to think about when you're trying to win the game with the black pieces.
Thank you. Absolutely. And again, I'll just emphasize that with the bishop now on B3 as opposed to being on C4, suddenly that idea of maneuvering over to the C file becomes very attractive. I'm sorry, I know we have a phone call.
Well, you do have a phone call as we are analyzing some of the critical points of this game. Let's see who is joining us here.
Hello?
Hello.
Hey, how's it going? My name is Tyler from New York. How's it going?
Hi, Tyler.
You're Tyler?
I'm a chess bra sub, and I've taken a lesson from Yasser in the St. Louis Chess Club before.
Awesome.
I have an idea for the U.S. Championships.
Please share.
I know it's a little off topic, but I've heard that Gary Kasparov is going to be playing the top 3 finishers.
He will be playing a blitz double round robin tournament against the top 3 finishers of the U.S. Championship. That's correct.
Wow.
I just have an idea. Everyone's kind of a little frustrated with the tiebreak at the end of the candidates. What happens if Garry Kasparov sweeps all three of the top three U.S. championship pitchers?
Whoa.
Wait. What's the idea? You said you have an idea. What happened? What's the question?
I think Garry Kasparov should be the U.S. champion.
Well,
I don't know if you guys can write that into the contract, but I think that's what should happen.
Okay, thank you, Tyler, for the compliments and the question. Obviously, the U.S. Championship title itself is reserved for U.S. players, players who want to represent the United States.
And here you have the dates of the U.S. Championship and U.S. Women's Championship coming up very soon, April 13th to the 30th here in the Chess Club and Scholastic Center of St. Louis. It will be super exciting. We'll have the top players of the U.S. participating. Fabiano Caruana is playing, Hikaru Nakamura is playing, Wesley So is playing, joined by very young players. Jeffrey Shong will be playing, Akshat Chandra will be playing. They're very, very young players. It'll be exciting.
This will be the strongest U.S. championships for men and women by far. I think this is an extraordinarily powerful field. It's, America has 3 of the top 10 players in the world. Fabi, Naka, Wesley.
Yeah.
Not to mention Gadakamsky, Alexander Onishuk. You mentioned the young Jeffrey,
Ray Robson.
Sam Shanklin just won a tournament in Europe 2 days ago.
Exactly.
I mean,
wow. It's going to be a great field. I'm sure we're all going to enjoy it. But sorry, this is the game. We're going to send it back to Eric and Maurice because this game decided the challenger for the world champions.
Absolutely.
Now this was the moment. Down a pawn was white, and white played the move rook to c4, attacking the queen. And now black had to be extremely careful in this position. Remember, we talked about this check on h7s in the position, the potential along this file. So white is coming from all different directions. In this position, the move rook d5, given the only move by black. So precise play so far by black in this position. The queen under attack, the queen here. No endgame. He said, I want to keep the queens on the board. Your king is vulnerable. Engines might say you're a little bit better here, but let's see you play this position. Sometimes it's hard to play positions where you might be better, but you've got to find precise moves.
Absolutely, and a big factor, I think, in this tournament that hasn't been mentioned too much is Fabiano Caruana has got in time trouble more than pretty much any player, if I can recall. He found himself, this is a very difficult position to play in time trouble, and he is not, let's say, a renowned blitz player. We've seen him, I even recall in the Sinkfeld Cup, I think he collapsed one game just
against Magnus.
In time trouble, but like he was getting in time trouble in a lot of those games this tournament, and that's something that you should probably be looking to improve because you can't kick yourself in the foot too much for not playing perfect moves here. If you don't have the time, I mean, we're all going to make mistakes, but getting in that time trouble, it's just, yes, that in this position, Karyakin's playing practically.
That's right.
Playing against, Caruana in this case, and it looked like a pretty good read. Black is under a lot of pressure now, and with time ticking on the clock, every single move, there are tactics against e6, against d6. It gets tiring, it gets tough.
And he did play, you're right, this move queen b6 and now rook h4, avoiding any kind of trade, attacking the rook. Happy to see this go off because now the h-pawn looks like it's going to die. So rook move to e5, attacking the queen, and now the queen goes back to that d3 venomous square. d6 is hanging, and that h7 point is hanging as well. And now the move. This was the move when we all saw it. We said, wait a minute, what is this one? And we all scratched our heads trying to figure out what was happening here. Bishop to g2. When I asked Alejandro what's the point of this move, he pointed out that the queen is now defending d6. Thanks, Alejandro.
Captain, you asked, and I answered.
Captain Obvious, of course. Yes, I saw that. I want to know what this bishop is doing on this square. Why didn't he go back to a8, to b7? Something normal to land on the g2 square. You're not going to go to f1. You're not going to go to h3. This seemed weird. Even if it were good, to see this move, you just smells a rat. It feels like there's going to be some tactic that comes back to this bishop. I found this to be a very odd move, and it did not help him in the long run.
I mean, it was a good move, and
but what is the point of the move? And please don't tell me about the d6 pawn again.
Well, the point of the move is actually pretty simple. You don't want to put the bishop on a8 and go d5, and let's show the position on the board. The problem is that if you put the bishop back on a8, and at some point you're forced to go d5 to solidify your structure, the bishop's dead. You want to have the bishop on the other side of the pawn structure play d5 and anchor the bishop on e4. I'm showing all of this, or Yasser's helping me out. And the bishop, if it retreats, has the potential of being locked out of the game. The idea behind bishop g2 is that you want to play, and you have to put the bishop somewhere that's past the d5 square, and the only one available is the g2 square. It's a computer-esque move. I think it was precise at a point. It's just very risky.
Right. By the way, the engine gives d5 immediately as opposed to bishop to g2, making the bishop get blocked in as the #1 move.
Right, but it's not.
But that's not a natural thing for a human. A human wants to have the active bishop and have it potentially on the e4 square. So an ambitious move, to say the least.
It's ambitious. Like, I just have to say, like, d5 blocks black's bishop, but also blocks white's bishop, and black is up a pawn. But, you know, it's very hard to criticize when he's trying to play for a win. He's in time trouble. He's trying to be as precise as possible. But, yeah, d5 I think is a move that can be played here. But, you know, he had a lot of pressure on himself.
Yeah, this was the move, though. Bishop g2, I think, was a scary moment. Now he had to play really precise chess, and it did happen. Rook went over to d4, this rook swinging back and forth on the pawn weaknesses, and now the move d5 did appear on the board, and now this big move, queen to d2, and here we see this pawn coming under attack. Again, the queen thinking about sneaking to the other side, and now by the way, the bishop also hanging as well, so he's using the bishop on g2 as this focal point to create the tactic against this pawn. Rook to e4 was played in the position, and this was the blunder, the real blunder, the one that cost him the entire game. Guys, after this move, the combination that wins the game, I mean, this has got to be epic. It goes down as one of the great combinations to seal the deal. This move seals the deal and makes you the challenger for the World Championship. Yasser, why don't you take us from here?
Exactly, Maurice. This was the New Yorker move, New York moment. After the move queen d2 with the double attack against the bishop on g2 as well as the pawn on b4, I think we were all looking at this resulting position. The bishop should obviously retreat to e4. Don't want to lose the bishop. You give up the pawn on b4, which we spoke about earlier as being vulnerable. And again, I was looking at the telecast after the game. The players looked at queen c7 and then this kind of simple move a4, and more or less everybody kind of felt that black was okay, but white was doing better. A preference for white, I would just put it like that. When we saw this move rook e4, we thought, oh, geez, if he can get away with that, that looks pretty decent. I mean, yeah, why not get rid of the rook? You're keeping your pawn on b4 alive, and obviously we can't take the bishop because our rook on d4 is hanging, and we would lose in exchange. Fabi would win. But then everybody, it's almost like osmosis. Everybody at the same time said, what about the move that Sergei found? Big time move. Rook takes d5. Oh my goodness. Oh, black's king, we've spoken about this almost from the get-go, caught in the center. The whole positioning now explodes. You can't allow rook d7. The rook had to be captured, but then there were simply too many threats. And another very, very big time move here. We talk about combinations, but some of the hardest combinations to see are those involving quiet moves.
Absolutely.
This was a spectacular quiet move. Queen f5. Multiple threats, and I'll turn it back to yourselves, Maurice and Eric, to finish it off, because it was short and sweet from here.
This was beautiful, and you have to point out it's the bishop on g2 that's costing him right now, because his bishop is essentially not in the game. It's defending the rook on e4, but it's not defending the insides, the inners of the position that have now exploded all over the place. And this queen, threatening queen d7 mate, seems like a very simple threat. Your rook cannot go to d8 because f7 will be mate, so that's a bad idea. So we go back. How do you defend a very simple threat? You can't move your bishop to h3 to defend because your rook will be hanging. So how do you deal with this? Just such a direct and simple idea. The mate threat. You also can't play a move like queen a7 to guard the square because you get mated in 2 moves. After queen d6, you have to go back. It's your only move. This bishop just piercing along the long diagonal. And then queen to d8 is checkmate. So he's enforced now in a box. He's got to play queen c7. This move, queen f5. We were thinking queen h5. We were looking, what should you do? What should you do? And then queen f5 shows up, and it's like, wait a minute, look at this move. Again, a simple threat. It's so interesting. You think something more complicated. Usually when we play, I tell my students, you always look for a move that does more than one thing. Threatens this and threatens this. And maybe threatens this and threatens this. On an open board like this, to have just one threat, like, that's my threat. I'm hitting you here. What are you going to do about it? And to have the guy try to defend against that threat and just get blown off the board anyway. He did play the move rook to f7, and it's just barely any moves. This one, the engine just goes cuckoo. Says, "What? That's a free rook." Thinks to give it back because now you can't even take on f7 because queen h7, and that's all she wrote, getting skewered along this line. There are other moves as well in this position after queen to f5. The move queen to c6 is an attempt to try to run out of it, but after this move, the king gets to move here, and now the move queen takes on h5 with check. The king is caught in the middle, can't do anything but hang out, and now the boss move bishop to d5, and I mean, it's just like bowling for chess pieces. Give me all these guys. Everything is looking ugly right now. You're going to get caught in a vicious crossfire. Queen d6 allows bishop e4. It's even hard to find moves in this position as the black king is being swarmed. So this move, big time, rook d5. This is the move that the Russian newspapers in Moscow tomorrow, they're going to put up that diagram. Bam! The move. Rook takes d5. This is what won our boy the candidates tournament and the right to play against Magnus Carlsen.
Yeah, I mean, I think when we look at what Fabiano, he didn't have too much time. He probably saw everything, but he missed queen f5. He just saw initially at queen c7, and with not too much time on the clock, you have to use it sparingly. So, you know, he missed that, but really impressive from Karyakin because this is not thematic. This is not something he can draw, like puzzles. It's not you have to really sense it, have that killer instinct in the position.
And then calculate it
and
to
then
make
calculate
sure it's
it
right.
with less than 10 minutes on the clock. So, I mean, really, really, I mean, he deserving. I mean, if you're going to find a move like queen f5 when it matters the most, I mean...
Absolutely. We're going to have Gary Kasparov on the show. Gary was the kind of guy who would find queen f5 in a blink and start looking and saying, oh, boy, you're going to die. And, in fact, that's what happened very quickly. Rook f7, bishop takes f7, now hoping to trade queens with the move queen e5, maybe get into some lost ending. By the way, white is currently up a pawn, so trading queens would have been just fine. But he said, I don't think so. Your king is in trouble. And now this sweet move to cap it off, that's really a money move. Now the king has only a couple of options. Of course, king g7 allows queen to g6, mate in one. And after rook d8, the obvious move is to take the bishop, but that allows the queen to finally get in here. Only move king to e6. Thanks for that checkmate. And the other simple line after rook to d8 check is to move the king back to e7, but that allows queen to d7, mate. It's mate. No matter what you do, he had to resign after this move. After rook d8 is the last move of the game right here. That's a picture. That's a beautiful finish. A deserving winner. Sergei Karyakin showed that he really was the deserving winner of this tournament. He defended like a beast. He played solid chess throughout. When he lost, he managed to come back and win. And when it mattered the most, he won the game that won him the championship.
Yeah, he seemed to play really practical, especially this game. e5 and then going for the combination made life so much easier for him compared to Fabiano.
Thank you guys for that really great insight. And again, kudos, kudos to our new challenger. But I really, really don't like the fact that it was the tiebreak that caused Fabiano to essay a very risky defense.
Yeah, it was definitely not in his style.
That was it injured this otherwise beautiful final round.
I think so, and it was a beautiful final round. I mean, the combination is so pretty because it involves a couple of quiet moves.
Yes.
And it seems like Black has many resources, and indeed, he has a lot of defensive ideas. We only had time to touch up on a couple of ones, but he has like 5 moves after Queen F5,
right.
and they all fail.
Right.
And even before Queen F5, besides Queen C7, he also has 5 different ideas, and they all fail again.
Right.
So it was really nice because it wasn't such a straightforward combination. It had like a lot of branches,
right.
and he calculated very quickly and very accurately. We do have a caller with us on the phone, so perhaps we should get to that. Hello?
Hello.
How are you?
Good, Alejandro, Yasser, Eric, and Maurice. This is Daim Shabazz of the Chess Drum.
Hey, brother.
Hey, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good, doing pretty good. I really enjoyed the show and the coverage. I think it's an excellent format, and I certainly have enjoyed each episode that you all have done.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My question is about the World Championship in November of 2016. I believe before the tournament, we were kind of salivating at the possibility of Hikaru or Fabiano getting in and it being a marketing bonanza on Madison Avenue. But that's not going to happen. So with Karyakin and Carlsen now playing, what do you think the marketing angle will be in terms of this match, and how would it capture the world attention given the new matchup?
Well, thank you for your call and for the compliments. I think it's going to be a Russia versus West kind of match. That's really what it's going to come down to. I mean, Magnus Carlsen's still a favorite player in the West, very well known, but Sergei Karyakin is going to have an entire country with huge amount of history of chess backing him, and I think that's really what it's going to be coming down to marketing-wise.
East versus West.
East versus West.
Even though Magnus is not really American, but he's coming to the United States in order to play this match, Magnus, I think, will have to be the driving force behind this one. I think that Magnus is going to have to do a lot of interviews, make himself very available before the match, which is going to be tricky because he has to prepare for a World Championship match. But he's going to have to do most of the marketing work. I don't think Sergei is going to be able to come in and really drum up too much attention for himself. People are going to want to know about him, of course, and people are going to want to write about this new star who's not so new to us. But Magnus is going to have to come and do another 60 Minutes show, or talk to the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Time Magazine, make it all very clear that he's coming to New York to play a multi-million-dollar match, and everybody should be paying attention. And I think that it's going to be his marketing team and his marketing prowess that's going to make this into a serious match that everybody wants to pay attention to without it being the sort of natural players that would have excited the U.S. public.
Well, what I like about this match, or if I had to do marketing, at least on paper, when my parents ask who's a World Championship match, and I have to explain Anna and Magnus, you hear about the age, and people outside of chess might be confused. Why is there such a big age difference? It must be a young guy here. They're born in the same year. They're the two youngest grandmasters in history, or two of the three youngest.
I think it's first and third.
First and third. So
second,
two, they've been rivals since they were a kid. And Sergei Karyakin has raided Magnus' tournament 2 times now, Norway chess, and he's going to have a third attempt. I mean, there's some time in between them to build it up, but I mean, he's won a tournament on his home turf twice. They're the same age. Karyakin does win a lot of tournaments, but it's going to have to be, I think, mainly on the organizers and on Magnus, because Karyakin's just not that well known in the West, and even by November, he will still be a pretty new face.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's going to be a big year for Magnus Carlsen. It's such a busy season coming up. We got Grandchester coming up, both Karyakin, and let's not forget, Karyakin and Carlsen will be facing each other next month.
Right, in Norway chess.
In Norway chess. So
absolutely.
That is going to be a game everybody's going to be watching, because they will be playing against each other next month.
Exactly.
Well, thank you for the call. I think it's going to be an interesting match no matter what. I still give the nod to Magnus Carlsen.
He's on paper clear favorite.
Yes, but I think Karyakin will put up at least a very good fight, and an upset I don't think is out of this world.
In that graphic, did we also see how their scores between them?
Yeah, absolutely. We have the scores between Sergei Karyakin and world champion Magnus Carlsen. We can take a look at in just a second.
Okay, cool. Do you want to see some of the other games of the round, or
I don't think we're going to have time, but at least the results came in as draws. The other games, I got to imagine, I would like to talk about the other players for sure. And the one I'm going to pull out, you guys can point out other players, is Anish Giri. Anish Giri, all of 21 years old, he drew today his 14th draw in a row in this tournament, and just simply an incredible result. Statistically, just incredible to draw every single one of your games against these world-class players. To not lose a game is already very admirable, but the misses he had, the wins, the near choices, there are a few players who are kicking themselves in this tournament. Definitely Anish is one of them. But I think being young enough, only 21, his first candidates tournament, I think he's going to bounce back. He's going to say, I learned from this. I know now that I am equal to any of these guys, and I'm even equal, I'm +1 on Magnus Carlsen. So I absolutely belong What do I need to do now in the next 2 years to be the one who is the rightful challenger to whoever is remaining after this match in November? He needs to go dig deep, find himself over the next couple of years, and you're going to see him as a dangerous, dangerous candidate in the next event. I predict that he will look at it and find a way to do that, on top of course, the other young players who are coming up.
Yeah, you look at the field, and you have the three guys who play the first candidates, Fabiano, Anish, and Nakamura. The good thing for all of those guys is they have some easy fixes. And
easy fixes, though. I'm not sure it's that easy.
When I mean easy, like on paper, they clearly just made these mistakes they don't normally make. But it's not necessarily a matter of failing on a big stage, because experience matters here. I mean, what I'm referring to is more of a question of Aronian, Fidler. They've had the candidate cycles before. They've been through the motions. You're Levon Aronian here. This is your third candidates. You've had this failure. You seemingly have done everything. It's just when it matters, it's not working. But, like, what more can you do? But you got, like, Hikaru, who's got to improve his openings. There were clearly some problems with his play.
Some nerves as well.
Some nerves. Anish has got to be feeling very confident, as you said. He's playing well, and it's just a matter of converting. Fabiano had some issues with the black pieces. I had some good and bad, but he goes back to the drawing board, and I think he'll come back very strong.
I think his challenge will be a bit harder because it was so ragged, his play.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't know which Fabi was going to show up that day and how he would handle himself. It's just like, what are you doing? In some positions, like, what are you doing? You're getting killed right now. And then other games, you're destroying the guy. Why didn't you win the game? The games against Topalov were just mind-numbing.
No, Topalov was a guy who was supposed to beat.
2-0. 2-0 he should have defeated.
The tournament had a factor. Whoever beat Topalov would have good chances to win. He was, clearly an underdog in every single matchup. And Topalov's a guy, had a great career. I'm not sure we will see him again in the candidates, although anything can happen, but he has not been very competitive in the last two cycles. And then otherwise, we have to see how Peter Svidler must be kicking himself, because he's a guy we always wanted to predict against him, but he's a good player at the end of the day, and like he has these bad games or he gives up easily, but he's a class player, and he still showed it with a 50% score with many good positions ruined. So those guys, we'll see how many more tries they get. But the young guys have a very good future.
Thank you, guys. And again, I'd like to come back to Anish myself, but we do have a caller.
Yes, we do. Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. This is Ernie from Queens, and I'm watching your program right now, and congrats for the nice cup race that you had.
Well, thank you,
Ernie.
And I'd like to, because when I was in the Philippines, I was like watching this game. The Chess Today, that we have a program, like a TV program, way back 3 decades ago.
Okay.
And I saw even Anand, when he was young, solving puzzles on chess. It gave me memories of the bishop rook of Caruana that they drew.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anand would solve those puzzles, and they give prizes of chess books. That's how I think Anand got better and better.
It was prizes, huh?
Yeah, and so now I'm saying, like, if you continue this program through broadcast, maybe like PBS, like every day, maybe an hour, it would encourage like kids from elementary, to watch program, and it would, enhance the grassroots, recruitment of chess to be popular in the United States.
Well, thank you, Ernie.
Rexingfield is loving Ernie right now.
Guys, we've always we've spoken about this topic before. The idea that chess has a great deal of difficulty with television and broadcast television. The internet, however, is a global audience. So maybe if we had a local program here in St. Louis and we did Chess Today and it was broadcast in St. Louis, we have 100,000 viewers or whatever it is. Now we can do it globally and be exposed potentially to 1 million or 2 or 3, where then you have sponsors that say, hey, I want to be on that show.
Absolutely.
So definitely this is a trend, and it's only because of yourselves, the viewers, that
make it happen.
That can make it happen for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot to talk about the chess world. We're bombarded with tournaments all the time. There are things to talk about consistently, cool games to show. I think it would be possible. I mean, 1 hour a day. Well, I mean, it would be cool. I mean, I would like to see it happen.
It would be a challenge.
It would definitely be a challenge.
Gentlemen, what are your thoughts?
Well, as a chess fan, of course you want to see chess on every day. Some kind of show, people talking about stuff. You can always tune in or even look at it afterwards on YouTube or on a YouTube channel or whatever club it is. Yeah, I think that there are enough chess fans out there. What is it? 600 million people say they play chess. Certainly you've got fans everywhere. We've been getting calls from all over the world here. We got India on the line. We had Kenya on the line. We had France on the line. I mean, how many shows can claim to get that? So I think it's a fantastic idea, and you will build up the fans. I don't know, those. They're talking about moving all of us to St. Louis. That's what it sounds like.
I mean, we all know Canadians and chess go hand in hand, so I really see, as we integrate more Canadians into this is
Yasser almost lost the lung.
I think it's a great idea.
Canadians and chess go hand in hand.
They go hand in hand, so I think expansion is on the horizon as more people learn from me.
All right,
okay,
thank you,
hold
Eric.
on. Let's go back to prior to yesterday's predictions.
Well, so let's see how we did in the prediction contest in the final round.
Well, we know who came in first and we know who came in last.
Yeah.
That we're clear on.
All right.
Okay.
We had Anish Giri against Vesselin Topalov. That was, well,
easy.
That was pretty easy.
That was Gary's fault.
Gary's fault.
Gary's
You followed behind Gary.
What was Gary thinking?
What was Gary thinking?
We understand the Canadian, but what was Gary
Well,
thinking?
it was Topalov playing badly, of course, and he thought Gary would get his first win, but
that was an easy draw.
Okay, that was a gimme.
All right, next.
That was a gimme game.
All right, of course.
We
my heart
all got
said
this wrong.
Fabiano Caruana. That did not happen. None of us got this right. Sergei Karyakin actually surged ahead, found a beautiful combination. Well, that point for nobody. And, well, Hikaru Nakamura against Levon Aronian. Well, you guys were pretty confident on that little circle there, you know.
Hikaru, he suddenly got back-to-back wins. It just felt so good for him. He was getting it going.
And Aronian had a bad game at that.
Going into
just
this
listen
kind
to
of,
the expert.
Oh, no, you only picked that because you needed to pick contrarily to Eric so you wouldn't come in dead last. It's the only reason you picked draw.
And in the last game, I actually did need this to go. And
I got my draw.
Well, you did get your draws, did Gary?
Can we get some numbers up to see?
You're timing.
I want to see what the numbers.
I cannot believe.
Well, hello, Gary Kasparov is joining us on the show. Hello, Gary.
Hi.
Hi. We're just going over predictions.
Oh, I got on 1 out of 4 today. Huh?
1 out of 4, and who got 3 out of 4?
Yeah, 1 out of 4.
Gary, what do you think about the challenger? Sergei Karyakin, deserving?
Look, I thought he had a chance in Moscow, so I believe that the challenger this time should be someone of Magnus' age or younger. That's why my expectations were on the young side. So Caruana, Karyakin, or Giri, and I think it's the beauty of the Euro, and we're having a new generation of the World Championship players, the players who are participating in the matches of the highest level, and both Karyakin and Magnus were born at the time when I was about to finish my 5th match with Kasparov.
Good point. How do you see the match between these two, Magnus and Sergei?
Look, I think Magnus is a favorite in the match. Again, it's a new event for Magnus because he's no longer facing an old generation. So I still think it's for Magnus to lose the match.
Do you think the marketing with this will be strong, Gary? In your day, you used to be a tremendous ambassador for the sport. You used to try to promote it all around the world, bring it to the big venues. But do you think that this particular matchup will be like a tremendous marketing bonanza for chess? Of course, Karyakin is a fabulous player, but he's not necessarily a well-known figure outside of Russia, except for chess fans, of course. What do you think they're going to have to do to make this match into something that the whole world would want to see?
Look, again, yeah, anything can happen in the match, and I don't think we should spend a lot of time now discussing, the correct previous result or his playing style. Yeah, it's not, it's not for nothing that Magnus is a world champion and by far the highest rated player. And while Karyakin, didn't have a very impressive result, but let's not forget, I think he was very successful playing against Magnus competing with Magnus in Norway. So he was a winner of Norway chess once, and I think again he has nothing to lose in this match because everybody expects him. Okay, not everybody, but let's say the bets will be against him. So Karyakin has a very promising underdog position, and again it will be a new challenge for Magnus, and I will be curious as a professional who played quite a few World Championship matches. I'll be curious to see how Magnus will handle this challenge.
Very good. Gary, in a couple of weeks, the U.S. Championship is going to start, and I understand that you're going to play an exhibition challenge of Blitz, double round robin against the top 3 finishers. We had a caller suggesting that should you win that match, you should be declared U.S. champion. What are your thoughts?
Look, it's a blitz, and I don't think it's a double round. I think we'll play 6 rounds. It's quite a long competition, a 2-day event, and I love St. Louis. It's a great place, for chess, and I have very good memories from my last year match with Nigel, and hopefully I can keep up the same spirit.
Very good. Very good.
Well, Gary, why you're coming? I still didn't get an answer to my question when I asked you the question about the marketing side. You're mentioning that Karyakin has a chance, but we got to market chess. We need to see chess on a global stage as much as possible. How do you market it? How do you sell the sport when these two are the players? Is it going to be that underdog role you mentioned for Karyakin? Is that going to be the selling point? Should Magnus be doing more, maybe interviewing in Time Magazine and Wall Street Journal and all those places?
Maurice, I don't know. I've had some trouble hearing you. I don't know why. This is the connection is on my cell is not perfect. Can you repeat it and say it louder?
Just the marketing side. I'm talking about marketing. How do you sell this match
okay, marketing
from
side,
a marketing side?
Look, this is not about my it's not about my business. In 2014, I wanted this to become my business, but majority of the federations decided to leave it in the hands of Mr. Luzhinev and his gang. So I let them worry about it, and I'm curious whether they'll find a sponsor in America.
Looks like we're having some difficulties hearing Gary.
I'm not sure, but I think we just lost Gary. But basically, he was saying that, hey, look, this is the responsibility of FIDE and Aegon to do some marketing for the match. They're the guys who have got to sell chess, and don't just put it on the shoulders of the two players.
Right. Hello?
Hi.
Yeah, I think we got
Sorry, we lost you there for a sec.
Yeah, you can try not to sell, just to have a problem with better connection, as Joy did.
And another question, Gary. We lost him.
Definitely
lost
lost Gary.
Definitely lost him.
We could talk with Gary for half an hour to an hour, but I think he made his point.
I know you'd like to talk for half an hour because there's a push-up challenge that you're trying to duck.
I cannot believe this.
This guy has a problem.
We do have the final scores of the
Let's get to one
predictions.
place I've already beaten you, okay? Let's start there.
Okay. Final scores. Ooh, I really fell off.
I don't know if it's...
Whoa, look at you. You tied Alejandro.
No. Yes, we did.
Why are you even opening your mouth?
Because they did something wrong. I predicted Svidler. I predicted Svidler Anand as a draw. We had different predictions there. I don't recall picking Anand as black. So I should be up +1. I think Alejandro and I both calculated that. No? I picked Anand? I'm very surprised I picked Anand to beat Svidler.
Look,
but
I thought with the Canadian, I think I would have been dead last.
I
it doesn't really matter to me.
No, but
you guys tied for last place. Yasser, kudos to you. Let's first congratulate the birthday boy on his victory. He really won on his birthday. That's really when he did it. When he did some miraculous numbers and smacked us and got the surge. You know, I accept my sub 50% score, but at least you youngins still have to learn a thing or two.
Apparently.
Is Gary back on the air?
Yeah, we do have Gary back with us. Gary, sorry for the technical problems.
Gary, are you there?
Okay, so where do we stop?
Well, basically you were saying, hey, look, don't just leave it up to the players to market the match. It's FIDE and Aegon. They wanted the responsibility. They got it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. Yeah.
Now, Gary,
they want the responsibility. They got it, and let's see how they're going to handle that.
Now, Gary, you wrote a fantastic series of books called My Great Predecessors. Now it's your great successors that you will be talking about. Maybe that great edition will come out sometime in the future. How does this match, when you look at this match in the history of chess, what are the things that jump out for you between these two players? Anything different from the past, anything similar to the past? When you look at it, you say, this is what this does in the long line of great matches that we've seen for the World Championship title.
Look, as I said, you know, it's a brand new generation. So you have two young players, fighting for the title, which is natural because it's a normal process. It's one generation is replaced by another. It's a succession. It would be odd if we had an Anand or even a Aronian. You know, I think it missed his chance already. It's time for those who are in their 20s to compete at that level. I thought that Caruana would have a better shot. His tournament results, and I think his playing style could be more unpleasant for Magnus. Though I still, I thought that Magnus would be favored even in this match. Against Karyakin, look, it will be a fair fight, but I think Magnus is a favorite. This match, look, if the match offers no surprises, Magnus wins. That will be sort of another chapter in Magnus' era. If something unexpected happens, then it will be one of the biggest upsets.
You made a big statement there, Gary. You said you feel Aronian's shot is done, and you also say the passing of the torch to the new generation. Could we add a couple of other names? Do you think that Anand has a chance again, Topalov has a chance again, or Kramnik? Are those guys possible contenders, or is it really just now the young generation with Giris and the Caruanas of the world, and maybe a future Wei Yi coming into the mix?
I know it's painful for us, because we belong to the generation of the names you just mentioned. And I'm even older than all of them. But it's over. I mean, Anand is 47 this year, and Kramnik is, in his 40s already. Right. And Topalov the same. So, and, Topalov's result was quite lousy. He could do better, but not much better. And he tried hard. But, it's over. And even Aronian, I think it's not accidental. So he had many chances, and he blew all of them. He had a chance against Caruana, he had a chance against Karyakin. But it's not accidental. I mean, missing 2 wins against 2 top players in the tournament, which could actually change everything. I mean, it tells you that he's not made of the material, that would put him on the very top.
Yeah, one of the things, Gary, you mentioned it already in the past too. In this second candidate, we saw Levon Aronian playing very well for the first half in both events, and maybe it's energy, age, whatever it was, but once again, Levon faded in the second half.
No, he did actually better here than in London because he fought hard. It's totally collapsed. And we saw just a shadow of Aronian in the second round because in two very important games with leaders with Caruana and Karyakin, he was close and he did well, but he couldn't deliver. And in both games, he had a very clear shot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us, Gary.
Gary, thanks a lot. We'll look forward to seeing you here in St. Louis in a couple of weeks' time.
Just in 4 weeks. In 4 weeks, you can ask me how I'm playing and not just talk.
It's very true. You'll be matching up against some very strong players here in St. Louis.
To be harsh about other people's play.
We'll be talking about you, Gary.
Guys.
No worries.
Thank you, Gary.
Very much for joining us.
Okay, guys.
Bye-bye for now.
Bye. Thank you.
Okay, guys, I think there's a bit of unfinished business, I believe.
It's time.
In front of the time has
Even
come.
the producers are against me.
Have we updated that poll as far as the 50 push-ups?
Oh, come on.
Have we been
Let's bring the poll up
getting-
one more time.
Just to see what our audience members thought Maurice could not accomplish. I'm shocked.
No, I
thought-
just want to be very clear. I didn't start this, okay? This clown here started all of it because he's like a fitness buff. Like, dude, I hang out with my friends and work out.
Chest bro.
And chest bro. And he got on me about doing these push-ups, and he's telling me that 50 is hard. I mean,
Well, for you, I don't know how, like...
For me, it's
Maurice, look at what the people say.
Yeah, I see what the people say.
They think you're wearing like 10 layers.
Maybe these are
There's
the
nothing,
same.
You're wearing 10 layers. There's no actual, beef there. So I'm just speaking.
Wow.
I am just.
No.
All right.
No.
What?
All right.
It's time to do it.
By the way, could we get the bet going? Let's get the standard. There is a bet going on. We talk about predictions. There's a bet going on. Yasser, what's the bet you got going with this guy, please? Because he's got to lose something.
Oh, exactly. I mean, essentially, I was going to make it really easy for the young man. I didn't want him to go home, crying. I said, okay, it's very simple. We all get together. We have dinners and drinks and things like this. Look, Maurice deserves $40. I'm going to pay Maurice $40. If Maurice does 100, you, Eric, you'll have to pay me the $40 back.
Yeah.
And pick up drinks on behalf of our production team.
Oh,
he
yeah.
said,
Oh,
no
yeah. Oh,
problem. No problem.
The whole team, baby. Oh, you're going to get ripped, son.
And now we're about to see who gets paid.
And I would like to point out
100 push-ups in a row.
I would like to point out that Alejandro wimped out of the bet.
Yes,
I just want to say that.
I was expecting Alejandro to join
I gotta
me.
say, I was misled because I put it this way. It seemed to me that Eric Hansen made a blunder, but he did it with such confidence that I was like, wait a second, am I missing something?
Alejandro, this guy allowed maiden 6 on the board.
I mean, if I had known that story, I would have been like, how many thousands do you want on this bet?
No, now, okay, first of all, I have to correct Alejandro. So Alejandro was ready to jump in and support Maurice, but then he did a very bad thing. He did his research.
Yeah.
He got online and he discovered, much to his shock, that this is supposed to be really hard, and
that's what the internet says.
The SEALs,
I didn't say that. That was Eric saying
the
that.
baddest bad boys on the
like
planet.
200 or maybe 300.
100 is elite.
No,
and you
it's
just
not.
never gave off the impression that you were elite. So I'll be.
It's getting worse.
We talked about it.
It's getting worse. Maurice,
I'm just.
I mean,
it's time, guys.
You want to keep your vest?
Who's? I'll keep the vest.
You're going to keep the vest.
If I start taking stuff off,
I think Yasser,
they'll be running up and down
Yasser should be the one counting.
Where am I? We got to get this on camera.
We're doing it together.
This?
Yeah.
Where should I do it? Right here?
As you like. Find your comfortable spot,
All right.
man.
Okay. Are you ready for this? Yeah. But just clarifying.
Let's go.
Everybody's counting.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11,
12, 13, 14,
not going down
15,
enough.
16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 30, 31.
9.
Whoa.
31, 32, 33. Pick up. 34, 35,
Yasser,
36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100. And look at that man go. And one for good luck.
What? Those were.
What?
I just thought you'd go down a bit more, but you know what? I'm impressed you can do more than 50. So you getting more than 100, I'll give it.
What? I'm not even breathing.
Just a second.
I'm not even breathing hard. Come on.
Maurice.
And all of you haters out there.
No, but
Wait.
That's what's up.
That was great.
Those
that
are like
was an impressive performance.
I don't know. Canadian push-up, American push-up. It's a little bit different.
Eric Hansen.
Come on, Ed. Come on, please.
Oh boy.
Be a good loser.
You did more than 50. Good job.
Be a good loser.
Yeah, good.
$40, buddy.
No,
Respect your elders. Respect your elders.
Well, that was one-sided.
Very good. Okay, guys. This has been a brilliant format. Kudos to Maurice for bringing it up. It's certainly his brainchild today in chess.
Absolutely.
We did some really wonderful episodes together, Alejandro. I thought
I had a lot of
great.
fun.
Really.
I thought it was very nice to recap the games. I thought it was we had a lot of energy in this tournament, and I think it really translated to our ability to do this broadcast.
Well, and again, look at our production team, all the graphics, that they're pulling up, all of those visuals that you got with the videos when we're, trying to marry our words, when we're talking about Topolov, taking all of those images from the Grand Chess Tour. It's been a lot of fun. I think a lot of our viewers said they like to see more of these shows, and it gives us room to start thinking about the U.S. Championship and our broadcast of it. Should our broadcast be what we've done in the past, the traditional 5, 6, 7 hours from start to finish?
Well,
should we be
doing this kind of recaps?
Yeah,
and you can always contact us. We have hashtag Today in Chess. You can tweet at the St. Louis Chess Club. Please tell us your opinions and your comments for the show.
What we can do, improve. Did you like Beyond the Boards, for example? Those were interesting.
We do this for you, so please help us out here. Final words, I think, from Maurice and Eric.
Eric is still stunned and embarrassed. And I will add, by the way, Eric, there's another piece of this bet we didn't mention. You said you're going to go outside in the middle of the Central West End and scream out, Maurice Ashley is my hero. That's going to happen. That's going to happen.
That will be happening today.
I mean, look at this. I got to clean you up. Dude, be a man. Be grown up.
I'm going to say that. What can I say? He won the bet. But I'd like to, take time myself. It's been a lot of fun working with Maurice, Yasser, Alejandro. It's been a really fun experience. Production crew is amazing. So I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Feel free to let us know. But it's been a really fun ride.
I would say it as well. When I envisioned this show, I thought it'd be a great idea. But to have these kind of players to work with has just been fantastic.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, sir. It was definitely a pleasure. Always a pleasure working with you, with Maurice, and now with Eric. I had a blast. Thank you to the audience for watching us. It was a fantastic event in Moscow, and I hope that we brought you really good coverage. We'll see you next time. The U.S. Championship's coming up in just 2 weeks.